everyone, it's Chari here today, and we're going to be making these fun paper pumpkins. Here is the middle size that you saw in the photo before. We're going to be making a trio of 3. So we're going to start by cutting some circles. For the larger pumpkin, we're going to cut 4-inch circles. For the medium-sized pumpkin, we're going to use 3-inch circles, which is the one here. And then for the small pumpkin, I'm going to use 2-inch circles. We're going to use 8 circles per pumpkin, and I've already cut 4 here in a light orange color. So what I'm going to do for this large pumpkin is I'm going to cut 4 more in a darker shade of orange. And you can use a die cut machine for this, electronic die cut machine, a manual one, but I'm just going to use my circle cutter because I think it works pretty well, and I know it's in exactly a 4-inch circle. So now I have 4 dark shades of orange and 4 light shades of orange, so 8 circles total. So now we're going to cut off the bottom. And to do this, I'm going to use my paper trimmer. So this piece of tape that's on here is actually the piece of tape I use for the 3-inch circle, and that's because I cut off 3/8 of an inch, and that line at 3/8 of an inch doesn't extend down my cutting board, so it's hard to line up. So I just use the tape to mark it temporarily as my guide. So I'm going to take that off. For a 4-inch circle, I'm going to cut off 1/2 of an inch. So you see me lining it up at 4, and I'm going to shift it over to 3.5. And when I did the 2-inch circle, I actually only cut off 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to be using the Hero Arts Orange Soda Shadow Ink for the light colored orange cardstock and the Right Persimmon Distress Ink for the dark colored cardstock. And I'm going to be using 4 different patterns. So I'm going to be stamping this chevron that's in the middle on chevron backdrops, and then I'm going to use all 3 patterns from the interlocking backdrop set. So I have my chevrons already mounted on my block, and the shadow inks will stain your stamp slightly, so that is why this is orange. But it still stamps fine, it's clean, and actually you can see your stamp really well now. So I'm just going to ink this up, and I'm actually going to stamp this at an angle just to create a little more interest. And now I'm moving on to the darker cardstock and using the Right Persimmon to do the same thing. I'm choosing to switch inks rather than mounting and unmounting my stamps. So now that I have them all stamped, I'm going to score them so that they will fold right down the center. And this is the reason why I cut the bottom off first, so I can line the edge up at the top. So I'm going to score a line at 2 inches, since this is a 4-inch circle. And then it folds right down the middle. And then I'm going to use my bone folder to make that a nice crisp fold. So I have them all folded, and I'm going to figure out which order I want them in. So I'm alternating light and dark, and I'm also alternating patterns, and that's partly why I want to figure this out before I start gluing my pieces together. So I'm just laying them out dark, light, and then alternating the patterns. And so you'll see here, when I lay them out in order, I realize that one's going to be after that, which is fine, but the 2 hexagons are actually going to be right beside each other. So I'm just going to rearrange a little bit. And then I'm going to pick them up in order so I don't lose my order, and then set them up here. So I'm going to use the Tombow Mono Multi Glue, and I just want to make sure that I get some glue along the edges, a little bit in the center. So you just need to put the glue on one side, and then take the 2 pieces that are going to go together and just line them up. And you just repeat this process all the way around your pumpkin. So here I'm putting the last piece on. And then once you do this, you can open it up. It'll open up just like this. And all we need to do is attach the last two pieces together. And just line those up. So now that the body of the pumpkin is done, I'm going to make the stem, and I've just cut a strip of green pattern paper. You could just use green cardstock if you wanted. And I wrapped it around a marker to bend it a little, and actually what I did was I stuck it inside this circle punch just to kind of get the right radius, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a circle out for the top with that punch. So I'm just gluing the edge down and wiping off the excess glue. And you can hold this just for a minute or two and it will stay stuck down. So there I am punching the circle, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue dabbed along the edge of that stem. And stick that circle right on top. So we have more of a finished top. Now to make the curlicue tendrils here, I've cut just a strip of cardstock that's like 1/8 of an inch wide, I think. And there's a couple ways you can do this. I tried wrapping it around the marker first, as you can see here, but it didn't really stay in a very good curlicue. So I tried using scissors like you would with curling ribbon, and that actually kind of softened it up a little and allowed me to wrap it around my marker again and get a much more tighter spiral. You can see there, since I softened the fibers up with my scissors a little bit, it kind of kept its shape more. You can just work with it to get it to look how you want it. Now I'm using tacky glue to attach this to the top just because it's a little thicker and it sticks more because it's tacky. So I'm going to put a dab right on the end of this little tendril here. And you can actually do this before you glued the stem on, which is probably a lot easier. But if you haven't, if you went ahead and glued the stem on and you don't want to pull it off, you just put some on there and stick that up in there using your fingers or tweezers or a pencil. You can see me use a pencil here to kind of give it a little pressure against the inside of the stem. That tacky glue sticks pretty well if you do it this way. So there you have it. There's a little pumpkin. And you can add as many curlicues as you want and cut them to the lengths that you want. You make 3 sizes and you have a nice little grouping. Thanks for watching. Bye.